On the 14th of March 2021, I did a video on Rob Burrow. This video came about because I talked about being a little bit short in stature, and that's one of the reasons why I never took up rugby. But Rob Burrow, he did, and he wasn't the tallest, but he was one hell of a rugby league player, but now suffers from Motor Neuron Disease, a debilitating disease, and I feel so sorry for him and his family. But a couple of weekends ago, he headed back to Headingley, and this is the news report on it.
Hello, you're watching Breakfast with John Kay and Naga Munchette.
Just after 8:30 on Friday. Thanks for joining us. And what a week it has been for this guy, Leeds Rhinos legend Rob Burrow. First, that documentary that we made about him, his life with Motor Neuron Disease, shortlisted for a National Television Award.
If you haven't watched that documentary, yeah, I suggest you watch it because it was hard hitting. It was a special little documentary that was done.
And now the release of his autobiography. And then last night, what a hero's welcome, wasn't it, back at Headingley?
Yeah, Rob and his family were guests of honour at Headingley Stadium as his old side played Huddersfield in the Super League. First time he'd been in front of that crowd since his emotional testimonial more than 18 months ago. Now, Lakshmi Gopal was there to see it.
Those turning up at Headingley weren't just fans watching a match, they were a rugby league family welcoming back Rob Burrow.
He's an amazing scrum half, amazing personality. He scored the finest try ever in the Rugby League Grand Final at Old Trafford in 2011. And I think he's an inspiration to the rest of the team.
People who watched him transform from lad to legend.
Really emotional. It's an emotional night for all the family will be here, and it's just when you've watched him come through from being a boy, and then it's, you know, obviously it's not a nice situation, but yeah, we're all there for him.
People who followed his journey through Super League wins and now his battle with Motor Neuron Disease.
As somebody who has a degenerative condition, to see Rob handle it with such grace, it's so great.
That's something that stood out actually through learning a little bit, is he's not ever wanted anyone to feel sorry for him. He's got on with things the best he can. He's been a true kind of example and a beacon of how to get on with things when you suffer a huge setback. Those probably aren't necessarily the right words. That's probably not the best way to describe things, but that's what's come into my head. A real sad situation, and he's doing the best he can.
Rob is...
And he's always been one of his favourite players, hasn't he?
Yeah, determination, and, you know, I just get quite emotional when I'm talking about him.
Been an inspiration to the club since he started his career, so yeah, you couldn't get a better Leeds legend.
It is great to be back at Headingley after so long. I'm completely overwhelmed to be shortlisted for an NTN award. I know I have the backing of the greatest sport in the world, Rugby League, and I am so proud of how everyone has rallied around me since my diagnosis. I could never tell you just what it means.
The no tears policy, I think, will be put to the test tonight, definitely. So yeah, I think it'll be emotional, but yeah, no, we're really looking forward to it.
I'm so happy we just get to take the ball out to the referee.
What reaction do you think there's going to be when you do that?
Look how similar the daughter is. So similar. Guys, it's hard to watch even this. They're trying. You know, I know it's sort of a celebration, but it's even for me. I don't know him. I don't know enough about rugby league in that sense of the emotions that will come from this. But just looking at the daughter and knowing how similar looking she is to Rob, and yeah, it's tough.
That from the crowds. Massive cloud cheer. I might even need to wear headphones. So excited to go on the pitch.
At the stadium where crowds only recently returned, a 10,000-strong standing ovation as the guest of honour appeared. Last time he was here for a testimonial match was a year and a half ago.
A year and a half, and look, he's walking, he's moving, he's carrying his baby boy. Oh, how much a year and a half has affected him. The great thing is he's doing what he can to fight it, I suppose, and like I said, a real inspiration.
The reception this time no less warm. A 7th-minute round of applause. A nod to the number 7 shirt he wore for Leeds during his 17-year career.
It's been so good to be back at the ground and to see all the support. It's been fantastic.
And what was it like seeing Rob go onto the pitch?
Yeah, no, I managed not to cry, so it was emotional, but really good. Yeah, really good.
Victory for Leeds Rhinos. And a shout out to the man who inspired it.
Honestly, I was really crying. I didn't think I would be, but it was really emotional, yeah. Lovely to see him back at Headingley.
It was emotional to see him there, and a lump in the throat moment, I think.
I'm just very proud to see him back on the pitch.
Tonight has been amazing. I don't look forward to having the attention on me, but I was really looking forward to coming back to the place where I had the time of my life. From being a little boy in the crowd to have had the spectacle of having a day set for my book launch. I need to thank so many people, but I would not change the outcome of my life regardless, no matter what.
The things he's saying, you know, he wouldn't change the outcome of his life. To be faced with such... to now be faced with such tough physical problems, and, you know, knowing you've got your family but even then still saying he wouldn't have changed the outcome of his life. He's not feeling sorry for himself. You know, I'm sure 99% of people would feel sorry for themselves and grumble and not live life to the fullest in the best of their ability, and they would crumble. And Rob Burrow is doing everything he can to make the most of what he's got left to support his family. It's incredible. Honestly, it's really incredible.
That smile, that wink, what a night for Rob. Well, we're joined now by someone who was there, Leeds Rhinos assistant coach and Rob's former teammate, Jamie Jones Buchanan. Thanks for coming in, Jamie.
Good morning, pleasure.
Wow, that looked like some emotional evening, wasn't it?
It was emotional. It's good to have the crowds back in. Wonderful to get Rob back in the ground as well. And I think what you've got to remember is, you know, Rob Burrow, myself, and that cohort, that generation of players fulfilled a boyhood dream in that stadium. We all grew up supporting Leeds, and every time you walk out onto that field in front of that group of fans is always a special moment. And it's lovely. Somebody like Rob Burrow has been a pillar of fortitude and resilience, not just in the last 18 months, but throughout his career. You know, his size, people always doubted him. He redefined the paradigms. He rewrote the rule book about what rugby players can be, and he absolutely fulfilled his potential.
I think that goes back to what I was saying at the start, and this is why I made the original video back in March on he's not the tallest of players, so he made the most and more of what he had. And I think it's interesting because I think rugby league is one of these sports where players don't move around from club to club as often. It's not like football. So players can stay at one club their whole career and they become legends, and it is more of a family feel. You know, you are one with the fans. And yeah, that's partly why I did the first video on him, because looking at what I'm thinking, well, I couldn't do something like that, and and Rob clearly was like, no, I can. It doesn't matter what size I am and whatnot. I can do it, and I can exceed.
and he's still inspiring people today.
I think it was yesterday we were running a piece in it because he was smaller than the average rugby player, should we say, but he was fast. So he was small, but no one could catch him.
He was rapid, he was amazing, and he used his talents and abilities to the absolute maximum, become world class. You know, when you read his book that he's talking about there, that's just been launched, throughout being under 8, 9s, 10s, people said, yeah, he's a great player, but he's too small. But he used that size and that agility and that speed to his strength. And you ask any big rugby player that's played against Rob Burrow, and they'll say that they're scared them to death because he was just too quick and too fast to catch.
What's it like having him back? I mean, we were saying we've seen that piece, and whenever we see him, we see that smile, and you know his nature and his family. It's positivity. That's what it is. What does that bring when he's finally back there at Headingley? What does that bring? It's
amazing. I mean, you know, Rob was right at the centre of that group. You know, he's got these Ricky Gervais nuances, this comedic character that he is, and you know, when you speak to Rob, even though you can't have those conversations anymore, it still shines through. You know, and his humour's at the forefront of who he is, and it's there in his book. You know, when he gets a chance to type out what he wants to say, it still shines through in his text messages. And it's just great to have him. Like I said, we went on an amazing journey. I think what's really important now as well, we've got a new generation of players. You know, some played last night in Morgan Gannon and Jared O'Connor. It's great for them to see Rob Burrow, to experience and be around that culture that we created during that time,
and
that
also
generation.
The crowds lift, don't...
That's a really good point, I think, he's made, is... And maybe this is something we're lacking in football. And sorry to relate this back to football, but it's what I know. In rugby league, they're talking about Rob Burrow, who was there at the club. He became a legend. He stayed, and you know, and he's that inspiration. And it's a certain player that other players can look up to, you know, who had the respect of the fans and was truly an icon in the sport. I don't think you have that in football for sure, because how many players have stayed at the club? You know, as a Southampton fan, we've got Matt Le Tissier, and it would be awesome to think players can look at Matt Le Tissier and think, I want to be like him. I want to build the club. I want to be a part of it and help. Maybe James Ward-Prowse is doing that right now in the same situation. But clearly Rob Burrow was one of those players that the new generation of players can look at, respect, and think, I want to be like him.
Don't they? The crowds last night would have been...
He's an icon. He's an icon, Rob. You know, I think the word legend gets bandied about far too often, but he's iconic. You know, we saw a statue of John Holmes there right at the outset of your VT, and you know, one day I'm sure there'll be one of Rob, and as small as Rob will be, the impact that he's had on people's lives is massive. You know, probably as big as anybody that's ever represented that club. So
I think you live and die, not necessarily by what you've won, but your reputation. I think reputation is and the respect people have for you is basically the be all and end all. I think I would love to be in a situation one day where I had a reputation where people had, you know, respect for me, not because of what I've won or whatnot, but because of, I don't know, how highly they think of me and the way I treat others. You know, I would like to think I do what I can to look out for others, and I don't know. But I think the respect that Rob Burrows has from people is what I would just I would dream. That's what I dream of being able to have, and not many people can have it. You, as I said, you live and die by your reputation, and Rob Burrows is up there, isn't it?
You know, listen, it was an absolute honour to have played with him, and I'm privileged to still be a great friend of his, and we all love him to bits.
And there you are together on the field. You gave him a win last night.
Yes.
How much of a difference do you think, how much of a lift do you think it gave the players on the field last night, knowing that Rob was there? What did that give to them in terms of their sport?
Well, do you know what? It's been a really tough year with COVID. We've had a fair few injuries, a couple of suspensions, and we're right against it. And I mentioned the young players that have got to take that mantle. And, you know, I see people, lads like Rob, who in that picture there, tackling people 3 times the size of him, just shows that nothing's impossible. And you know, against all the odds this year, it's been really difficult at times. But those young boys that are playing now, that next generation of Leeds Rhinos players are going through the mill. It's been a baptism of fire for them, but they've got lots of moments, pictures of inspiration that show them that what real fortitude and resilience and determination looks like, and Rob's at the centre of it.
We'll leave it there. I think that's a really good message to end on. That's a really good message to end on. All respect to Rob Burrow. Thoughts to him and the family and I'm sure people watching this video I would hope they feel the same, if not more, especially because I assume most people that watch this video will be rugby league fans and would know of Rob Burrow a bit more than I do. It's a real tough subject. It is a real tough subject. So thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.